Unironically, can somebody explain to me what the is going on? I thought we had this shit on pause. I can't keep track of everything. Okay, so everyone was taken by surprise on this. Apparently, the Syrian rebels just took Aleppo. You took a break, that's why? Yeah, sorry, my flight just got back from Aleppo. Hold on, somebody link this. Is it a meme video or I don't know? I'm gonna be honest, and this might be like cultural bias on my part. I can't take this facial hair seriously at all. You know, there's just like an Amish, Chechen, Syrian rebel unity that like pervades through time and culture and always makes me feel like it's a joke. But I don't know. That's obviously a meme. That's a Prigozhin edit. Do you want to believe it anyway? Prigozhin with a photoshopped hairstyle. Do you want to believe it anyway? It's a still image with audio. That's a shame. I thought it'd be funnier. Well, anyway, over here in the real world, yeah, no, seriously, Syrian rebels took Aleppo. What's going on with that? Like, that's pretty wild. I saw a live UA map screenshot where it was literally like, oh yeah, here's an update. You know, Syrian rebel controlled area. Here's a little chunk. It's right here. I hear Assad soldiers are also defecting. I mean, it's got to be like boring to be on Assad's team. You know what I mean? Got to be uninteresting. What's a Aleppo? What's a TIFF? Okay. So, okay, basically, the Arab Spring happened and Syria broke apart, and there are a bunch of different factions inside Syria, and the largest and most powerful of them is the one that's like ostensibly the Syrian government, which is controlled by Assad, who's the guy who keeps winning with 99.99% of the votes because he's that popular. He killed a bunch of student protesters and so on and so forth. He's a very bad guy. You know, he gas bombed civilians, but thankfully the gas just went out the windows. And yeah, he's backed by Russia, like very obviously, directly, openly backed by Russia to a significant extent. He's also ostensibly the only, what's the term? Why am I blanking? Agnostic military force in the Middle East, like in a region dominated by Islamist, or in one specific case, Jewish supremacist forces. Secular. Yeah, secular. Thank you. Secular is the word I'm looking for. Assad is like ostensibly a secular leader. Is he actually? Are his forces actually? It's I'm sure very complicated, but that's like the narrative, you know. There's Rojava, of course, the Kurdish militia over in the east, which was for a time and still is to some extent like defended by U.S. soldiers because we're guarding oil fields over there. And then there were like Syrian rebels, and the Syrian rebels range from like more or less democratically minded individuals to like Al-Qaeda, basically. I think the rebels that have taken over Aleppo have broke with Al-Qaeda a while ago. Like, it's a big wide tent of groups, and I'm pretty sure that they're no longer officially on good terms. Long story short, they launched a surprise attack, and since the Russians and Hezbollah are busy, the Assadist military fled in disorder. Well, that's probably good. The Syrian Arab army fled Aleppo, abandoning equipment there. The Kurds also kicked them in, or the Kurds also kicked them in. The Syrian rebels started moving south. Now they're all the way into Hama. Goddamn. Don't forget about the Turks to the north. Yeah, let's just get the live UA map. Live UA map, Syria. Let's get the, we love our, you know, like, on the floor of a children's daycare ass map with 57 colors. The map. Okay. Pro-Assad forces are back at the northern entrance of the city of Hama. Okay. Where are the... Okay. A lot of wacky shit going on down here. Now, can your favorite streamer identify Aleppo at a distance, or is he washed? He can. He's not washed. He's not washed. Artemy's clawing at the door. God help me. Artemy! Artemy, Aleppo has been taken. You have to be not annoying. Aleppo has been liberated by dubiously moral forces. I love my, you know, enough of these like morally ambiguous conflicts, you know, like you've got like Israel and Hezbollah. Now, do we support Israel? No, but is Hezbollah good? No. Thankfully, the Syrian rebel forces are on the up and up. Thankfully, these guys, you know, in the clear. Whoo, dilly. We are so back, Rebel Bros. Yeah, no kidding. Okay, take a look at the key. Yeah, green is, FSA or Al-Sham, other moderate groups. Yellow, Kurds. Red is pro-Assad forces. So yeah, looks like they've been kicked out of the city. So yeah, red, these are the Assadist forces. Yellow over here is the Kurds. This is the area where Rojava is. Up here we have Turkey. Very bad. We don't like them, even though we just had them, you know, the other day. Good map with less colors. What are you, racist? Syrian rebels have launched a rapid offensive in the northwest city, catching Aleppo, the city's second largest city. Rebel forces have also advanced southward, reaching the outskirts of Hama. This is, pretty wild. Look at the ideologies of the Syrian rebel faction taking Aleppo. Yeah, no. The Syrian National Army is fucking insane. They are not good. It's literally just the, fuck Assad coalition, right? They are unified. Like, if these guys ever took full control of Syria, which is doubtful, mind, but if they did, they would instantly be shredded. They would be torn apart by their own, like, disagreements and contradictions, you know? Unlike the Kurdish forces in the east, which are kind of like, not, I can't say like they're fully united, but for the most part, like, they kind of have their mindset on what kind of governance they want. You know what I mean? Like, with Rojava and everything, like, there's some semblance of stability, whereas in this case these guys are not going to hold together very well. What did the Kurds do? Exist, mostly. That was their crime. There seems to be some sort of tacit agreement between rebel groups from Rojava to avoid clashes, which hopefully holds. It can't hold for long, right? I mean, these guys are like Turkey backed, and Turkey fucking hates Rojava because they hate their own Kurds. Like, if these guys ever won, they would gobble up Rojava as well. But hopefully, like, Assad is... Is it possible that Assad is actually the lesser evil here? Probably not. I just wonder if we're kind of seeing the precursor to another, like Shah versus Ayatollah situation, right? Where Assad is kind of like the Shah in the sense that he's, like, heavily backed by a foreign power and largely disliked by the population. And this might be like the... you know, the Iranian Revolution playing out in incredibly slow motion, where eventually if Assad falls, then the whole country turns into like basically like a failed state. I mean, half of it's been a failed state for a while. You underestimate how evil Assad is. You can present your opinion without demeaning my intelligence and knowledge on the subject, you know? You can just say, I disagree because Assad is so on, rather than saying, like, you're stupid and you've forgotten something. Sorry? That's okay, I forgive you. You're named Haruhi Suzumiya, so I know that... Nothing. Never mind. You gonna finish that thought? Nope. Pretty sure the term is Ba'athist, not Assadist, but Assadist is easier to say. You've forgotten to consider the most important factor in me naming Middle Eastern groups. No, in all seriousness, it's probably the case that even with the Syrian National Army being incoherent and largely bad, they're still better than Assad by a pretty well. Because, like, worst case scenario, Syria turns into a failed state, but they kind of already are. Like, that's not new. Well, wait, hold on. Isn't ISIS coming back? Isn't ISIS back in a big way right now? Aren't they in vogue? Isn't, like, a significant chunk of Iraq kind of threatening or being threatened by pressure? No? I read this, like, the other day. ISIS is so back, y'all. Not really, they keep getting crushed. I wonder if this would give them, like, an in, you know? At some point you do hit bedrock, but ISIS still exists. Worst case scenario, like, absolute worst case scenario, would be the SNA does better than we expect, Assad's support collapses, he Hitlers himself in a bunker, and ISIS takes advantage of the... Well, I shouldn't say takes advantage of, because ISIS is a, like, incoherent death cult. Like, they don't really... There's not much central organization from that community. Probably more like ISIS kind of like emerges like a festering rot on a wound, you know, from the chaos. But I don't know. That's not the SNA that took. That's Tahrir al-Sham. Am I stupid? I mean, yes, but this is the rebel forces. I guess it's not necessarily the Syrian National Army. Tahrir al-Sham specifically is the like branch, the leader of the branch that took over the Sunni Islamist involved in the Syrian civil war. There are many rebel groups. No. I know there are many rebel groups. There's like literally like too many to like. There's the fucking 57, at minimum 57. I mean, you know, it's a lot of people here. This guy specifically is the one who captured Aleppo. I still can't believe they fucking captured Aleppo. There are a bunch of videos on Twitter, but yeah, remember the joke I keep making about how you can never tell if any war footage is authentic because you might just be looking at footage from the Syrian civil war? This time we have the same problem, but even greater, magnified, because now it is going to be, even if it's correct, footage from the Syrian civil war, and I can't tell what's real. It would have to be like a do I support the source kind of deal, and I've seen like basically every you know, fucking foreign military OSN account post bullshit at some point or another. Yeah, I'm trying to find the right kind of needle in a stack of needles, basically. HTS Islamists backed by Turkey, smashed through South line, quickly marching south. Rojava's doing a lot. I can see Rojava's doing a lot. Got a lot of yellow right here. I mean, they're putting in work. God damn. Yeah, area control. Rebels, FSA moderate groups, Kurds. Let's see. Okay, I'll take a look at that. Look at what Jolani is saying about the occupations. Giuliani? Huh. All right, well, I thought that guy was managing his bankruptcy right now. But, yeah, we can take a look at what he's got to say. All right, we've run into another issue, which is that I speak and read English, and even that only barely. Islam taught us kindness and mercy. Be a role model of tolerance and forgiveness. I hold you responsible for representing Syria's revolution. Build what Syria's people have been waiting for decades. Well, that sounds nice. Forces fleeing Aleppo.
مدينة الرستان عدد هائل من المواكب باتجاه.
Here, let's take a look at this guy super quick. Like, really, really quick. Let's get a feel for this guy. I know that there are a lot of Westoids who might not care about stuff like this, but keep in mind that the entire, like, Western shift rightward was predicated by the, Arab Spring and Syrian refugee crisis. Like, literally, there is, like, no country is an island, you know? Very, very important. Even if you only care about the West, like, shit like this matters a lot. Very, very important. Here's the translation of the statement. Okay. To our heroic mujahideen in the field, show mercy, compassion, and kindness to our people in the city of Aleppo. Let the preservation of their lives, property, and well-being, as long as the establishment of security in the city, be our utmost priority. Do not cut down a tree, frighten a child, or intimidate any of our people, regardless of their sect or background. Aleppo has always been and still is a meeting place of civilizations and cultures, with a long history of cultural, religious, and social diversity. It stands a heritage for all Syrians. Oh, that sounds nice. It sounds pretty woke, yeah. It is good. I mean, Aleppo, okay, you know how every nanosecond that passes, Israel nukes another World Heritage site in the Gaza Strip? Aleppo is like one of the human Civ cities, you know what I mean? Like, if they're still making Civ games in the year 10,000, this would be one of them artifact cities that gets you a cultural victory if you hold on to it for 50 turns. Aleppo has, it's of great importance to people who, unlike me, have a great understanding of history, okay? That's all I can really say. Assad is fleeing to Moscow. Why would he flee to Moscow? Like, Damascus is a while away. He didn't flee, lol. Is he just, like, there? He's not fleeing, he just decided to go anyway? Peskov also declined comment on unconfirmed reports that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad made an unplanned trip to Moscow following the... Okay, well, that sounds like fleeing. There were infightings in Damascus. Look at the map. Can your streamer immediately identify where Damascus is off a map, or is he washed? He's washed. It's over. Is the Damascus being hidden? South part? Of course it would be in the south part, because that's where Israel has an easier time bombing them. There we go. They hide the text of the city. Somebody in chat said it's a day's drive south, and like, motherfucker, maybe if no one's stopping you, there's no fucking way the Syrian rebel forces are making the drive from Aleppo down to Damascus in one day. Not at this distance. That's what I get for looking at shit. Yeah, he's washed. He's washed. Well, you know what? Sometimes clothes need washing. Not as often as you probably do them, though. There are a lot of people in Damascus. Infighting different factions of his government or infighting, that's what they're talking about. That's pretty funny. All right. So this is the guy who's currently organizing the conquest of Aleppo. Google Maps says 4-hour drive from Aleppo to Damascus. Okay, motherfucker. Then go down to Aleppo right now, and then go to Damascus. See how long it takes you. Abu Muhammad al-Jolani. Ahmed Hussein al-Shara. Okay, we got a lot of names. I get it. Other cultures have cooler names than us. That's fine. Ahmed Hussein's family came from the Golan Heights. Wonder who put a B in this guy's bonnet, huh? Wonder what... He's a militia leader, huh? Well, what could have happened to... I wonder. Displaced after the Six-Day War. Yeah. Okay. Imprisoned by Syrian Baathists. These are the Assadists during the anti-Nasserist purges. Initiated after the 61-63 United Arab Republic. Propelled the Baathist party to power. Right. Assad. Okay, so this guy had like a main character, like, story. You know what I mean? Like, where you guys, like, where were you born? Oh, you were born in Ohio. And you went to high school and you went to college because your parents told you to. Okay, this guy, like, fully ruined village, homeland destroyed, forced to flee, imprisoned by a dictator. Yeah, Isekai MC backstory. Exactly. Nico Robin-ass backstory. I want to live. Jolani's father was again imprisoned. He was later released and found asylum in Saudi Arabia. Nice. Okay. Al-Jolani, 82. Oil engineer till 89. Okay. He moved to Iraq to fight American troops after the 2003 invasion. He quickly rose to the ranks of Al-Qaeda in Iraq, AQI. The Times of Israel newspaper claimed Jolani was a close associate of AQI leader Abu Musab al-Zarqawi. In a 2021 interview with Frontline, al-Jolani asserted he had never personally met al-Zarqawi, trying my best, throat hurts, and denied any leadership roles during the early Iraqi insurgency other than finding a regular foot shoulder. Before the eruption of the Iraqi Civil War in 2006, Jolani was arrested by American forces, imprisoned by over 5 years in various prisons. These prisons included Abu Ghraib. Holy shit! His family has the MC backstory, then he gets the MC backstory. What the fuck? This family is like Forrest Gump. The main character of Middle East. What the fuck? Okay. They were just cycling him around. The guy with the potato sack over his head in the famous picture at Abu Ghraib, that's him. That's probably not actually him. I shouldn't say that. It might be him. It's probably not, though. Play the clip from Vice? What clip from Vice? One of these links? Frontline, you mean? No, that's with PBS. Where's the Vice clip? This guy was in Vice? Well, you would need to provide the clip for me to see the clip. I can't magically produce them. I'll get link. That would be a good idea. I'm not Siri. What was I talking about? Moved to Syria, established Al-Qaeda Syrian branch known as Jabhat al-Nusra. The group was allied to the Islamic State of Iraq until 2013. Oop! Cancelled. Sorry, unfollowing. I followed the Islamic State of Iraq for their, Islamist militancy. Did not know about the death cult element. Unfollowing immediately. Formation of Al-Qaeda affiliate in Syria, facilitated by men, arms and money given to him by the ISI. Department of State declared Jabhat al-Nusra to be an officially designated terrorist organization, noting it was simply a new alias for Al-Qaeda in Iraq. Under al-Jolani's leadership, al-Nusra grew into one of the most powerful groups in Syria. Conflict with ISIS. Okay. Resurgence of al-Nusra. Okay, right. After the Syrian civil war. Got more aggressive. Considering his background, his statements have been very tame so far. Yeah, credit where credit's due. This is like the opposite of what ISIS would say. So maybe he's learned his lesson, you know? There are different flavors of Islamic militancy. We shouldn't engage in the like racist assumption that all Islamic militants are of or around the ISIS level, obviously. I mean, there are plenty of people presumably in Hezbollah who are just like grillers. You know what I mean? Yep. It's simple. Love me Lebanon, love me Mediterranean, 8 Israel, 8 2,000-pound bombs, leave it be. It's like the median Hezbollah militant. A buddy of mine said Jolani grew stronger through the power of DEI. I mean, so did America, right? All those Italians we let in. Hiding power level, probably. I don't really think so, you know? I've seen a few statements from people in this position, like, you know, they're not normally this conciliatory. You have to think like long-term goals, right? These people are associated with Turkey, or is that just the general like vibe of the Syrian rebel army? Or is this guy? Well, we didn't get all the way. We didn't finish the Wikipedia read. Okay, hold on. That's true, Richard Haney. He's having a bit of a victory lap right now. Uh-oh. When asked about al-Nusra's plan for a post-war Syria, al-Jolani stated that after the war ended, all factions in the country would be consulted before anyone considered establishing an Islamic State. Well, that's nice. Though he was asked this about a decade ago, so maybe he was being a little more mindful of the other forces involved. He also mentioned al-Nusra would not target the country's Alawite minority, despite their support for the Assad regime. Quote, "Our war is not a matter of revenge against the Alawites, despite the fact that in Islam they are considered to be heretics." A commentary on this interview, however, states that al-Jolani also added that Alawites would be left alone as long as they abandon elements of their faith which contradict Islam. Oh, there you go. He called for indiscriminate attacks on Alawite villages in Syria. Ah, well, there you go. He said, quote, "There is no choice but to escalate the battle and target Alawite towns and villages in Latakia." Al-Jolani also called for Russian civilians to be attacked by former Soviet Muslims. Like in Russia, I assume. Like, that would be like a Chechen thing, I would assume. These are literal terrorists? Really? The guy who leads the Syrian Al-Qaeda branch? It's a strong claim. Let's see if it's backed up by the facts. Al-Jolani announced in a recorded message in 2016 that Jabhat al-Nusra would henceforth go under the new name of Jabhat Fateh al-Sham, Front for the Conquest of Syria. As part of the announcement, al-Jolani stated the rebranded group had, quote, "no affiliation to any external identity." While some analysts have interpreted this as breaking away from al-Qaeda, the group was not specifically mentioned in the announcement, and al-Jolani at that time had not explicitly renounced his oath of allegiance to Ayman al-Zawahiri. So it's, in all likelihood, my man is locked in and focusing. I mean, at least what I've heard is that he's not actively working with other branches of Al-Qaeda, so it's probably safe to assume that he should be treated as his own, from what I've heard, as his own entity, rather than just like Syrian Al-Qaeda. Jolani announced in 2017 that their new group would dissolve and be subsumed into a new, larger Syrian Islamist group called Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, Assembly for the Liberation of the Levant. Oh God, this guy's so fucking ambitious. First he's with Al-Qaeda, then he's like, okay, fuck that, Syrian liberation. Then like 1 year later, he's like, the whole Levant. Hey, it's just the Levant, buddy. It's not like there are any superpowers around here. Oh, man. Under Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, called HTS for short, the group focused on fighting Al-Qaeda and ISIS to get rid of hostile perceptions from the West. With HTS, he crushed ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and the majority of opposing forces in the vicinity of HTS, and now controls nearly all of the Idlib government, or governorate, under the governance of the HTS-aligned Syrian Salvation Government. Oh my God, how do you keep track of the bureaucracy in Syria, man? Jesus Christ. Okay, so when he broke away from Al-Qaeda, then he meant it. In the summer of 2020, Jolani made frequent public appearances around Idlib in an attempt to gain support from the population. Video output by HTS-affiliated media increased significantly through mid-2020, with multiple videos being published daily showing governance videos, distribution of taxations in rural villages, frontline videos, and Jolani meeting with local militia groups. Holy shit! Okay, well, I mean, from the perspective of like as a fellow Islamist militant who's done a lot of work in Syria, I can say this is how you'd want a guy to do it, right? Drop affiliation with Al-Qaeda, fight against ISIS to avoid antagonizing the West, kind of like manage your relations, and then post like governance videos, you know? Because this is what ISIS didn't give a this was a clarification that I had to talk about this a lot when we last talked about ISIS, which is that ISIS was never interested in governance. Like when ISIS controlled an area, they just controlled the area. You know what I mean? They were like an occupying force. But for the most part, they had to leave local civic governance intact because ISIS militants had no interest in like getting into the, you know, fiddly mechanics of running a city. They just want to kill people. They're pretty crazy. Yeah, they collected taxes, but it was just like war economy shit. You know what I mean? They weren't really interested in converting an area into their own country, which is why their desire for a caliphate was never like really that sincere. Much in the same way as a lot of Western white nationalists talk about wanting a glorious white empire. In reality, they just fantasize about shooting up schools, you know? It's not like they're like, we will return with a V dreams are an insincere front for what is really like an extremely antisocial and reactionary like, you know, militancy. This, on the other hand, seems a lot more, you know, a lot more forward thinking. PBS Frontline released a documentary, The Jihadist, in which Jolani's past is investigated in the context of the ongoing Syrian civil war. Oh, we're at the end of the... okay. All right. Reflecting on his past affiliation with Al-Qaeda, Jolani commented in the interview, quote, "The history of the region and what it went through over the past 20 or 30 years needs to be taken in consideration. We are talking about a region ruled by tyrants, by people who rule with iron fists and their security apparatuses." So to be clear, he is 100% doing this because he wants to keep the West off his back. Ideally, my guess is that he thinks that if he's really going to rule Syria, he can't have Turkey and the West at large holding him, designating him as a terrorist. He needs to be thought of as like a liberating force by the West, or we will undermine him. Turkey's funding him. Yeah, but Turkey is like barely part of the West and barely part of NATO. So just because Turkey supports him, they might just be supporting him for anti-Assadist reasons. This is probably part of a broader PR campaign, which is smart. That's smart, you know? Doesn't necessarily make him a good guy, but it's definitely smart. We can't take a segment of this history and say so-and-so joined Al-Qaeda. There are thousands of people who joined Al-Qaeda, but let us ask what was the reason behind these people joining Al-Qaeda. That's the reason. Are the U.S. policies after World War II toward the region partially responsible for driving people towards the Al-Qaeda organization? And are the European policies in the region responsible for the reactions of people who sympathize with the Palestinian cause or the way the Zionist regime deals with Palestinians? Are the broken and oppressed peoples who had to endure what happened in Iraq, for example, or in Afghanistan, are they responsible? Our involvement with Al-Qaeda in the past was an era, and it ended. And even at the time when we were with Al-Qaeda, we were against external attacks, and it's not completely against our policies to carry out external operations from Syria who target European or American people. This was not a part of our calculations at all, and we did not do it at all. No, I mean, he seems like a smart and reasonable guy. Whether or not that will necessarily translate into him being a positive liberatory force, I guess we'll have to see. But, you know, it's probably it's a testament to his reasonability that the reason he was able to get Aleppo and the reason Assad may or may not have fled Damascus seems to be that he's causing instability within the Assadist forces, right? Like, if people are defecting, you can't just be the most powerful guy to inspire your enemy's soldiers to defect. You have to give them a better deal, basically. You have to make it clear that you represent something better for them in the long run. Also, Rojava has opened a new front against the regime in Deir ez-Zor. Also, the SDF has agreed to a truce after the SDF seized Assad's territory to create a land bridge from Manbij to the Kurdish enclaves in Aleppo. That seems strategically useful. So you're saying that there is right now a relatively high degree of cooperation between Jolani's forces and the the Rojavan or the Kurdish militia. It seems like they're working together on this, like pretty closely. Creating a land bridge to the Kurdish minority in Aleppo. That's very speculative info. I mean, on the map, we probably would have heard if there was really aggressive clashing because they're right up next to each other, Like, this does suggest, or it implies a degree of, if not cooperation, then mutual tolerance. Rojava has been working with the West for years. No, I know that, but now it seems they're working with, Tahrir al-Sham. There's a statement from the IDF condemning the rebels. Oh, I bet. They aren't fighting side by side, but they're also not fighting each other. Well, that's good. Wikipedia works fast. I want them to win, but also be chill about Kurdistan. If Jolani is serious about wanting to not just, defeat Assad, but rule over Syria, then he will need to cooperate with the Kurds indefinitely. There are too many Kurds, and they are too powerful, and they have too many ties for them to like if they tear apart a shaky coalition with infighting of that caliber, then this is doomed from the start. He must understand that the only way forward is cooperation. Now Artemy wants to leave again, but I can't leave the door open. Artemy, you're so annoying. This is so crazy. I'm sure this is not as much of a shock if you're following this conflict day by day. But yeah, getting all the news out of it. Russian air bases have been captured, by the way. Good. Reportedly, all rebel factions, no matter their colors in the north, have agreed not to fight each other. There are already overlapping control areas like in Kuwairis Air Base and the city of Daya Hafir, east of Aleppo, which support that claim. Apparently, all Syrian rebel factions have agreed the primary enemy of Syria is Assad, Russia, ISIS, and Iran. Well, we'll see how that plays out. In the first 10 hours of the offensive, HTS captured 20 towns and villages from pro-government forces. In addition, the 46th Regiment base of government forces was besieged by the HTS and captured a few hours later. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights reported that 37 Syrian government soldiers and allied militias and 60 fighters from the opposition forces were killed in the clashes. A Russian Special Forces unit was ambushed by rebels, who later posted photos of a dead Russian soldier and captured equipment. Aerial assaults in areas controlled by Syrian and Russian forces launched aerial assaults in areas controlled by rebel groups. Russian fighters conducted airstrikes around Atrib, Derat Izza, and surrounding villages, while government forces shelled rebel-controlled cities in the nearby province. We love a king who commits to his message, Richard. Why are you there, Ruskies? Russia's been fucking squatting on Syria for a long time now. The Syrian rebels have captured around 40 towns and villages in total by the end of the day. Sheesh! There are rumors Ukrainian intelligence agencies are supplying some of the rebel groups with intel. Maybe. They have a shared enemy, but I could see how that could get them in political hot water. Fun to think about, at least. In the early hours of the 30th of November, rebel forces captured the citadel of Aleppo, the government headquarters in the city, as well as, quote, more than half of Aleppo city. Pro-government troops fleeing towards As-Sifira. Rebels captured 39,000 villages. Pro-government forces retreated from most of the Idlib governorate. Not easy to say off the cuff because there were other words that look like that don't sound the same. Government supports. An airstrike reportedly of Russian origin killed 16 civilians in Aleppo. Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about Russia. Advances towards Hama. And this is all happening right now. Meanwhile, Israel reportedly fired artillery shells at government-held territories near occupied Golan Heights. Pro-opposition TV stations claim that rebels have begun to enter Hana. Local gunmen from Talbise attacked SA. What is Israel leaning on with this? I feel like, if anything, Israel would support Assad over the Sunni Islamist militias. This might be like a case of lesser Hitlers. No, Hezbollah supports Assad? Yeah, but reasonably, if the Sunni forces took over Syria, they would also be anti-Israel. I mean, it could be like an enemy of my enemy is also my enemy thing, you know what I mean? Basically, what I'm saying is that Israel blind firing into Aleppo right now is a 100% chance to kill people they perceive to be, you know, enemies. Israel's statement. So they're doing their own thing right now. Tomorrow will really be the critical day. Will the SAA stand and fight or negotiate? Will the rebels make it to Homs? Will there be a Russian/Syrian air campaign? The Russians seem to be annoyed, flabbergasted with the SAA. Man, that's crazy. Reactions. The Syrian army described it all as a terrorist attack. Yeah, of course they did. Syrian opposition said, yeah, essentially, like, we're the good guys, they're the bad guys. He has to announce the attack. Iran described the offensive as a plot orchestrated by the U.S. and Zionist regime following the regime's defeat in Lebanon and Palestine. All right. Okay. That's a Trump Truth Social kind of take on the situation right there, like from their perspective, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's some cope. Turkey says the foreign ministry of Turkey called for an end to the airstrikes in Idlib and demanded that, quote, greater instability is avoided and civilians are not harmed. Yeah, Turkey is playing the impartial card publicly because they're supporting the Syrian militia. So, you know, and Russia said that the offensive was a violation of Syria's sovereignty in the region. Nice. How fucking funny would it be if the utilitarian calculus ended up weighing out in favor of Israel's behavior over the past 18 months being moral because the weakening of Hezbollah gave the Syrian rebels the power vacuum they needed to oust Assad and take control of Syria, and this brings about like a greater era of peace in the Levant. Is this going to happen? Yes. No, probably not. It would be funny. It's some 5D chess of evil. Oh yeah, surely. There's this picture of a rebel with the most confusing bunch of patches of allegiance. It's interesting. Okay, I don't think this is a recent photo. They're not kind to ISIS over there. Still incredibly funny. Hell yeah, man. Bro belongs everywhere. Got the damn broccoli haircut and mustache that's so popular with guys in their early 20s these days. Peronista. I'm always on top. This is what peace and unity in the Middle East looks like, by the way. You may not like it, but I'm 16. I want to get political. Me after accessing the internet for the first time in in like Eastern Syria and developing my political ideology. Da 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 da. What was your first political ideology? Well, ISIS was coming up at the time that I was in high school, so, you know, there was a trend. There was a fad. Can I get like any recent direct statements from Jolani that are not just him saying, please don't hurt any flies in Aleppo? I'm sure the full Frontline interview was interesting. I don't think there's much apart from official statements. Dude's kind of busy. Not gonna lie, I'm pretty curious to see what kind of videos he was putting out in like tax policy. Remember when he was like, hey, here's how we're gonna reach the local neighboring villages. That does get me curious, but you know, probably not that interesting, and also probably not translated into English. Well, I hope not, K Comrade Robin Hood. The main worry that I have with regards to the like truce holding is that Turkey doesn't like the Kurds. You know? Maybe, hold on, what if there's a good outcome to this? What if Turkey believes that if the Assadist regime falls and this new one takes, you know, this new one takes hold, and they're able to maintain some kind of truce with the Kurds? What if Turkey could see that as like if Syria is stable, we could incentivize the Kurds to go and live over there, you know? Like, rather than this constant, endless, fruitless effort to dispossess the Kurds within our own country, what if having like a bastion of Kurdish power in Syria, you know, could keep them out of our hair? Al Jazeera exclusive, him splitting from Al-Qaeda. I just want to see him talk, I guess.
Now then, Al Jazeera has obtained exclusive video of the former leader of Al-Nusra Front confirming the group's split from Al-Qaeda. Abu Muhammad al-Jolani appears in vision for the first time to announce his group's name has also changed to Jabhat Fath al-Sham, or the Front for Liberation of al-Sham. It follows earlier reports that the leader of al-Qaeda had approved the split so the Nusra Front could concentrate.
Very wishful thinking. Yeah, well, there's been a lot of negative stuff happening lately. Maybe I want to be a little optimistic.
On their fight.
الجهاد عامة ونخص بالشكر الشيخ الدكتور أيمن الظواهري حفظه الله ونائبه الشيخ أحمد حسن أبو الخير حفظه الله. نشكر لهم موقفهم في تقديم مصلحة أهل الشام وجهادهم وثورتهم المباركة وتقديرهم لمصالح الجهاد العامة.
I could be reading too much into it, but he's reading a statement about breaking from Al-Qaeda. It's just interesting to me that he's wearing what is effectively like Western military garb while doing it. You know what I mean? Like, the men to his left and his right are dressed in a much more like kind of like regionally distinct way, and he's wearing just standard fatigues, which were, you know, introduced in Western military use and kind of became a worldwide thing after that. Yeah. It's to his benefit. I mean, obviously, like if this is going to go anywhere, he's going to have to no longer be considered and treated as a, you know, like a terroristic entity. The Turks literally said they'd support him if he broke from Al-Qaeda. Erdogan has actually made some tepid gestures towards reconciliation with the Kurds recently. It could be a sign. Well, we'll see, I suppose. Fate and fortune have not been kind to Kurdish people. Yeah, they've been bombing Kurds for a while, Skynet. It's from yesterday? No, I know. I'm just saying it's been going on for a while. All right, well, we'll see how things develop, I suppose. Attempted coup d'etat taking place in Damascus. Sounds of gunfire were heard in the Syrian capital of Damascus on Saturday night. Speculation grew. This is very like speculative. That's been debunked. They were fighting rebel sleeper cells. Well, that's also pretty significant, but yeah. You would need like people breaking off from the pro-government forces for it to be like a coup definitionally. Yeah, we'll have to wait a day. There could be some good here, not just for Syria, but also for Ukraine. You know? The ruble, someone just posted in chat, reminded me, the ruble's down right now by a good amount. If, like, instability in Syria reflects really poorly on Russia, because this is basically like Russia's most aggressive colonial holding, you know? Outside, obviously, of what's happening in Ukraine. I guess you could argue like what's happening in Georgia. But Georgia's, they're having their own fuss right now. The ruble is down. This is happening right now in Syria. It could speak towards a larger trend. Could be good. Then again, Russia did just buy America, so have faith, Richard. The Turkish proxy faction, the SNA, is trying to take Kurdish-held areas in northern Aleppo, but they've been getting smashed. Well, that's good. I mean, they'd effectively be breaking the cohesion of their little, like, truce. I'm tired, boss, but sure, nothing's over till it's over. Oh, for sure, Richard Hannay. I mean, it's not really... It's not just a matter... Like, Russia has been making advances in Ukraine lately, for sure. Slow, grinding advances by the standard of what's happening in Syria, but still... That being said, a lot of, I guess, Russia's ability to posture as it has is kind of, I mean, it's built on their being recognized as this undefeatable, like this petro-state with its arms everywhere, arms everywhere, soldiers everywhere, Cold War era guns everywhere. I don't know. I mean, it could do a little bit to destabilize, to break confidence. But, I mean, look, plus side, maybe this will be over soon because when Trump takes office, he'll just sell Ukraine. Like, he'll sell it to Russia. And no one will know what that means, but that'll probably be the end of things. Vosh, these guys are all terrorists. These guys are terrorists. Come on, Vosh, come on, man. These guys are literally al-Nusra. They are not peaceful and not rebels. Come on, this Jubilee guy is a terrorist. Vosh, these dudes are terrorists. Guy who believes that terrorists can't be rebels. And rebels can't be... Guy who thinks these are mutually exclusive categories. Somebody hasn't read One Piece. Somebody hasn't read Theory. This Jubilee guy is dangerous. Is this like a bot? Probably not. He's an Assadist. It's one guy in Damascus, holding up like a little hand, like radio tuner, trying to get the signal to his computer, furiously typing. Very possible, no joke. You Baathist fucks aren't getting to me. Tulsi Gabbard Cotton VGG. Tulsi, don't you have something better to do? Aren't you going to be the director of national intelligence? Tulsi's drinking heavily tonight. Man, I really hope that Jolani is chill on the religion front. I expect, look, the majority of Syrians are Muslim. I expect any leadership in Syria to also be Muslim. I'm not stupid. But there's a huge difference between, Sunni, like Ismailist militiamen who is Muslim and uses that as a rallying cry, but isn't like, that religiously motivated. And a guy who turns into a freak as soon as he gets the chance. Did I say Ismailist? I am like, every time I open my mouth to talk, a 2-pound log of partially digested mashed potatoes, turkey, stuffing, mac and cheese, such and such, threatens. Like, I'm fighting, okay? It's a difficult job. Rojava has denounced al-Jolani. Farhad Shami, press spokesman for the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, has made a statement saying the SDF will defend the people against Hayat Tahrir al-Shams, HTS. Today, HTS entered the city of Aleppo, killing civilians and shelling Aleppo's university. There are increasing concerns about the safety of the civilians in the Kurdish neighborhoods of Esrefai and Shasmeksud in Aleppo, and fears that the Turkey-backed Syrian National Army will use the cover of the HTS operation to attack Kurdish forces. Well, this is old, I think. By one day. This was before the truce. They thought that HTS would try to take the Kurdish areas. Well, that's good. Okay. So this is prior to the more moderated statement. 1 day old. I mean, yeah, 1 day old can be a very long time. Hopefully things remain stable. I generally trust the decision-making and judgment of the Kurdish people. You know, I shouldn't say the Kurdish people like in an ethnocentric sense. I mean, like the Rojavans. So hopefully they are correct in their assessment that they can work with HTS. Okay, I think the history 123 history guy might actually be a Baathist bot, so I'm just going to ban them. Nothing more frustrating when somebody comes in with a bit and you respond to the bit, but then they keep doing the bit as though you hadn't responded to it. You know, you have to engage with it. You have to evolve over time. Otherwise, you're just like a bot, you know? The most nationalist Turkish party has pivoted on the Kurdish question very recently. They are now open to hearing talks from Abdullah Öcalan, aka Rojava's thought leader. Is it dangerous to hope? Is it dangerous to hope that this might actually mean like a new promise? Not of peace necessarily, but like of opportunity for the Kurdish people? That Assad might spend the rest of his days in Moscow drinking himself to death, while in Damascus, you know, coalition like Sunni and Kurdish forces do like a little jig? That might be a little bit too optimistic. The Kurds will probably remain mostly in the east, but still. It's not delusional, actually. There's a cynical reason for Erdogan to pivot on the Kurds, and it's to split his domestic opposition. Man, I hope so. I hope, even if it's for some cynical political bullshit, you know? I hope. I guess, like, in the long run, Israel might end up not supporting this, but keeping their hands off it because they just want to make Iran angry, too. Iran fucking hates the Kurds. So I guess maybe in the long run, like, oh, there's so many, like, enemy of my enemy, 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 of my friends. Map of the current land bridge to Aleppo, the SDF created. Al-Bab. Whoop. Yeah, doesn't this reflect in the... No, it doesn't. Okay, so this is where they created the... They went through Maskana then, and this just hasn't been updated on the map. Like, they've just created a little land bridge. So the SDF already had a holding here. And they've created a bridge to their broader forces. Man. Try refreshing the page. I don't think they've updated it that recently. No. Would be nice, though. Is it dangerous to hope? The map is not up to date. Live UA people have complained the SAA are retreating too quickly to map them out. That's a good problem to have. We're going to wake up tomorrow morning, refresh the map, and there's going to be like one red dot right here. An enclave surrounded by yellow and green. Very real. Truth nuke. Ha! You don't have the emote anymore. Fuck you. And you're not getting it either. You took it? Yeah, I took it. People were just using it as a generic explosion emote. You people... You don't even know. You don't even know. Alright. I don't think there's much else I can say on this. It's very exciting. In the sense that, you know, Syria has been a hotbed of... I mean, it's just been fucking depressing, really. You know? Also, I've always wanted to go to Cyprus. So if we can get peace in Syria, that would make me feel more comfortable over here, basically. New record, high Russian casualties. Ha! Caught the link before you got nuked for it. By the way, there's a lot of Turkish trolls who Rojava pro-Assad. Who Rojava pro-Assad? What do you mean?